Process mapping is a technique that can be used to foster a structured approach to improve or transform a business process. This short video will show you how by using a cross-functional or swim-lane process mapping methodology. You will see how a current state process map is created to set the foundation to identify process improvement, digital, and automation opportunities, including the illustration of a future state process map. The scenario depicted is about the travel expense report management process, which is common among many organizations globally. The process as shown does not represent a standard or best practice. The maps are created using Microsoft Visio. Any other recognized process mapping software will work just as well for our scenario. At the end of the video, you will see information on how to learn more about process mapping. Let's begin by describing the current state process scenario. A company employee returning from a business trip begins the submission of their personal travel expenses by printing a hard copy of the travel expense report form. They would manually record their expense details on the report and must also sign and date it. The employee will print a copy of the form and their receipts. Furthermore, they will attach all the documents that were copied and file them in their personal cabinet as backup in case they get lost during the process. The employee will hand deliver the original travel expense report and receipts as a package to their manager. The manager will review the expense report package received and perform the following key due diligence activities to help them determine if there's a discrepancy by ensuring all mandatory fields on expense report are completed, accurate cost center number used to charge expenses, authenticity and clarity of receipts, and expenses incurred against allowances and travel policy. If there is a discrepancy, the manager will hand deliver the expense report package back to the employee and provide feedback on their findings. If there is no discrepancy, the manager will determine if the amount of the expenses is within their sign-in authority limit, which is $1,000. If so, they will approve it by signing and dating the expense report. If not, they will hand deliver the expense report package to the senior manager. If the senior manager is involved, they will review the expense report package and perform the same due diligence activities as the manager. If there is a discrepancy, the senior manager will personally deliver the expense report package back to the manager and provide feedback on their findings. The manager will hand deliver it back to the employee to have it amended. If there is no discrepancy, they will approve it by signing and dating the expense report. The senior manager will personally deliver the approved expense report package to the manager. The employee will amend the expense report and resubmit it if a discrepancy was found by either the manager or senior manager. An expense report approved by management will be hand-delivered by the manager to the accounting department. They will perform their reimbursement sub-process to compensate the employee for their personal travel expenses. The sub-process includes the following audit and compliance-related activities: check for receipts, check for management approvals, check for out-of-policy items, match receipts with line items, verify all dates, verify all charges, and verify all vendors. It's time to create a cross-functional or swim-lane current state process map to visually see how the work flows, including showing the following key elements: input, output, activity steps, decision points, and functions. What you're looking at is a cross-functional or swim-lane template downloaded from Microsoft Visio. The page height and width has been expanded in advance to save a bit of time. Likewise for the height spacing of each swim lane. Let's zoom in and take a closer look at the process map we are about to create. Now add the name of the process in the title field, followed by labeling of the 4 swim lanes showing the employee, accounting department, manager, and senior manager, who are the 4 functions in this process. The initial thing you want to do when mapping a process is to show the first and last activity steps to establish the boundaries. In our scenario, the first activity step or input into the process occurs when the employee prints a hard copy of the travel expense report form. Let's first place the start symbol, sometimes referred to as the terminator symbol, and record start. Now let's place a process symbol and add a connector line to show the direction of the workflow. Record the details of the first activity step. A last step in our scenario is when the employee receives reimbursement for their personal travel expenses. Let's place a symbol showing the endpoint of this map at the right-hand side of the page within the employee's swim lane. Now add a process symbol and connect it to the endpoint. Next, let's record the details of the last activity step we just described. Now that the boundaries have been illustrated on the map, let's go back to the beginning and add the second step in the workflow performed by the employee. They will record their personal travel expense details, sign, and date the form. The next step they do is to print a copy of the completed expense report and receipts. This is followed by attaching copies of all documents and filing them in their personal cabinet. Let's now show the employee hand-delivering the original travel expense report and receipts to their manager. We can refer this as the expense report package going forward. The first task the manager does is to review the package by performing a number of due diligence activities. Let's show this step happening. Process steps that involve a review usually trigger a question. In our scenario, the manager will ask themselves if there's a discrepancy during the due diligence. The symbol used when showing a decision is a diamond. Let's place this symbol with the manager and have it connect from their previous step. Record the question the manager is asking themselves, which will have a yes or no decision outcome. Let's show the step if the manager finds a discrepancy. They will hand-deliver the package back to the employee with their feedback, which follows the yes path. The employee will amend the expense report as required. Let's show this activity happening with a connector line for the manager's previous step. Then connect the employee step to the step directly above to show the resubmission. If the manager does not find a discrepancy, they will determine if the expenses are within their sign-in authority limit. Let's represent this with another decision point that follows the no path of the first question asked. If the expense amount is not within the manager's sign-in authority, they will hand-deliver the expense report package to the senior manager. Let's now show the senior manager engaged in reviewing the package. At this point in the presentation, hopefully you can see the benefits of this common method of process mapping. Perhaps you may be thinking already that the process depicted seems inefficient and have ideas on how to improve it. We will get to that a bit later. For the moment, this video is just a small sample of what one can learn about this important skill anyone can pick up with a bit of training and experience. The senior manager will ask themselves the same question as the manager did regarding if there's a discrepancy. If so, they will hand-deliver the package back to the manager with their feedback, who will hand-deliver it to the employee, this time with the senior manager's feedback. The employee will do an amendment as required and resubmit. Let's show these couple of steps happening. Let's go back to show what happens if the expense amount is within the manager's sign-in authority. They will approve the expense report package with their signature and record the date. Let's place a process symbol with a connector line with a yes outcome from the decision point. Likewise, if the senior manager finds no discrepancy, should they be the one performing the checking, they will approve the expense report package with their signature and record the date. Their next step is to hand deliver the package back to the manager. Let's show this workflow happening. The manager's last step is to hand deliver an approved expense report package to the accounting department. They will perform their reimbursement sub-process. Let's illustrate this by using the sub-process symbol used in Visio. Now connect the sub-process to the last activity step on the map we added at the beginning when establishing the boundaries. Now that we've placed all the steps on the map, let's add some annotations to capture some essential details about the process without adding more steps and connector lines. Firstly, the manager would follow a number of key due diligence activities as part of their review. Let's use the annotation symbol to show this detail next to the first step. Furthermore, the manager has a sign-in authority limit of $1,000. Let's show this detail next to this step. In addition, the senior manager will perform the same due diligence activities as the manager. Let's illustrate this information here. Lastly, the accounting department perform a number of audit and compliance-related activities during the reimbursement sub-process. Let's show this level of detail next to this step. Let's number each step on the process map. Visio has a nice add-on feature to make this simple for you. Let's use the manual method of adding individual step numbers so that you can see this feature in action, and to have a bit more control in the order and how you want the steps to be numbered. Numbering of the steps is optional. However, the benefit is that it would make it easier for people who need to review it or suggest edits by just referring to the step number instead of describing the entire step verbally or in writing when providing feedback. This is a time saver when validating the accuracy of a process map. Here's the finished product of a cross-functional or Swimlane map for the Travel Expense Report Management current state process. As you can see, the process map is well structured with the right level of detail. Let's now use it to find the key weaknesses for the purposes of identifying process improvement, digital, and automation opportunities. This is the current state process map we just completed, only this time we've highlighted areas of weakness after performing a very simple and modest level of process analysis using the concepts of lean and process improvement thinking. A more detailed analysis may be performed to identify more weaknesses. For the sole purpose of minimizing your viewing time, we will just indicate and discuss the most obvious ones depicted. Let's zoom in and take a closer look at each weakness by starting at the top and follow the path of the process where there's a thought bubble next to a step. Firstly, using a hard copy of documentation throughout the process seems rather outdated, given many organizations are motivated towards a paperless office environment. Next to that in step 2, the manual recording of information is prone to human errors, such as using the wrong cost center or missing information, to name a few in this scenario. Not to mention the challenges if poor handwriting is used. Printing a hard copy of the expense report and receipts in step 3 uses labor capacity, has costs, and requires office equipment resources. Also, having a duplicate copy kept in a personal filing cabinet in step 4 in case the original documents are lost takes time and valuable storage space. Unless it's an audit requirement, there may not be a need for this activity. hand delivering of documentation in Step 5 certainly uses labor capacity. Amending expense reports in Step 9 is a result of something that's gone wrong in the process. Manual rework requires time and cost to correct, and there is no guarantee it will be fixed the first time. Let's scroll down to see the lower part of the process map. In this view, there are 5 steps that involve hand delivering of documentation. Take a look at steps 8, 11, 14, 17, and 18. Also, 2 of these steps, namely 8 and 14, involve providing feedback due to a discrepancy found, which may be misinterpreted by the employee or provided with time delay in between. Furthermore, we see manual approvals being performed in steps 15 and 16, which could be missed or be held due to other priorities by the manager or senior manager. Finally, let's scroll up a bit to see the last section of this map. It may be fair to think that the timing of the output for this process could vary due to special causes of variation relating to potential rework and avoidable delays, including anything that may go wrong when the accounting department performs their audit and compliance activity checks. Let's use our understanding of the weaknesses identified in the current state process as the basis where to target for process improvement, with a view towards incorporating elements of digital and automation capabilities. Here is a future state map of the travel expense report management process, created in advance to once again save you time in viewing this video. The base skills to produce a future state map in itself are the same as creating the current state. The key difference is that you would need to apply the principles of design thinking when constructing one. Only one future state process design will be illustrated, although having more than one solution is highly advisable when involved in improving or transforming a business process. The scenario you're about to see has been made up rather than using an actual example to show future state thinking simplistically, and the process itself should not be viewed as a standard or best practice. Let's zoom in and take a closer look. Firstly, labeling of the swim lanes showing the employee, accounting department, manager, and senior manager are the same as the current state process. Only this time, we introduced a system swim lane since we're using technology to transform and support many parts of the process. Let's begin the walkthrough starting from the top and follow the path of the workflow to help us understand the future state process design. Thought bubbles capture comments to help explain the changes and benefits. At the outset, the employee will log into an expense management system and enter their personal travel expenses. To rapidly tackle the main weaknesses in the current state process, a generic system like this has been introduced to provide digital and automation capabilities. The name of the system is made up and doesn't describe or promote any software supplier who offers this type of service. This type of technology will eliminate the use of paper throughout the process and ensure greater clarity on the information captured. On the most part, information technology systems is one of the key process enablers that perform 3 primary functions at a high level. They capture and present information, they automate and support activity steps, or they manage and expedite workflow. This is how we will describe them when illustrated on this map. If we quickly scroll down to the system swim lane, you can see what the expense management system is doing at a high level. In this case, it captures the information entered by the employee and presents it for their review. We're using a symbol in Visio called disk storage to represent the technology, and we use the acronym EMS for the system name wherever it is depicted. You may use other related symbols to visually represent technology on a process map. After all, process mapping involves art and science, including craftsmanship, which is gained only through experience. Let's scroll back up again to see the next activity the employee will do. As shown in Step 3, they will scan the receipts in the PDF format and upload them to the travel expense form they are completing on the system. This will eliminate the need for keeping original copies of the receipts unless they are required for audit or compliance reasons. Let's follow the path to Step 4. At this point in the process, the employee can submit the travel expense report to their manager using the system. The capability of automating the management and expedition of workflow eliminates the hand delivery efforts of the current state process. Furthermore, the employee is now able to view the status of the approval flow with the new system and will therefore be able to stay informed anytime. Let's look at the flow coming down to the system swim lane. You can see that the system will manage and expedite the workflow to the manager in Step 6. The manager will receive an email notification, which is generated automatically by the system, reminding them a travel expense report requires their review. This capability helps to control the timeliness of a task within a process, which will positively affect the overall time to execute it. Next, the manager still needs to answer the question regarding if there is a discrepancy in Step 7, which is no different than in the current state process, including performing the same due diligence as shown in the annotation here. If a discrepancy is found, the manager in Step 8 will simply indicate decline in the system and record their reason or reasons. The system will automatically send an email notification to the employee. Let's follow the connector lines to see this workflow happening. This takes us to Step 10. Notice that the employee receives the notification of the decline and why. These digital and automated capabilities eliminates the need to hand-deliver documentation, including adding more control in the efficiency and effectiveness of communication between two different roles in a process. Step 11 regarding amending the expense report is similar to the current state process from a purpose perspective. The only difference is that it's done on the system instead of a hard copy of the travel expense form. Step 4 is repeated again for a resubmission to the manager. If the manager finds no discrepancy in Step 7, they will ask themselves the same question as in the current state process as shown in Step 13 regarding their sign-in authority limit. If it is not within their limit as seen in Step 14, they will route their response to the senior manager using the expense management system. This routing activity using the system also provides the same process improvement benefits we just mentioned in Step 10. Let's follow the workflow to engage the senior manager. They will also receive an automated email notification as shown in Step 17, reminding them a travel expense report requires their review. This step is no different than that of the managers in Step 6 and provides the same process improvement related capabilities as mentioned previously for this activity when the system is used. The senior manager's activity in Step 19 is the same as what the manager does if they find a discrepancy and will follow the same workflow and requirements for the employee to amend the travel expense form and resubmit it. Once again, the process improvement benefits when the system is involved to manage and expedite the workflow between two different roles apply here as well. Let's follow the connector lines. This takes us back to Step 10. A key difference in this case is that the senior manager has the response of a decline expedited directly to the employee without engaging the manager. The manager, however, still needs to review a resubmission. The manager and senior manager also have the capability to check the status of an expense report after the indicated decision response in a system. Let's go back to step 19 to provide you with a bit more useful information about this scenario. The frequency of this unhappy path should be low on the most part if the manager finds a discrepancy prior to a travel expense report reaching the senior manager. If not, utilization of the appropriate tools of industrial engineering or Lean Six Sigma should help to understand the root cause and resolve the problem. Revealing this potential process weakness shows the benefits of process mapping in action, even on a future state map. Let's complete a walkthrough of the happy path in this process when no discrepancy is found. Steps 16 and 20, performed by the manager and senior manager respectively, shows how the approval is performed using a system. Again, the process improvement benefits as mentioned previously when a system is involved to manage and expedite the workflow between two different roles apply here as well. Only this time, the other role is the accounting department as we near the end of this process. Let's follow the flow of the connector lines. This takes us to the reimbursement sub-process performed by the accounting department, which is triggered when they receive an automated notification of a management-approved travel expense report. Finally, as highlighted in the last step on the map, the probability of a more consistent or quicker time to execute the process should be realized with the introduction of an expense management system to overcome many of the weaknesses found in the current state process. The system helps to reduce avoidable delays and provides more controls to reduce process variation. This completes the walkthrough of a proposed future state process map, which illustrates just one solution. Perhaps you can leverage from it to design alternate solutions, which is always a good practice when improving or transforming a business process. Hope you were able to grasp the concepts on how to map a current state process, review the weaknesses to identify areas of process improvement, digital and automation opportunities, and applying them when designing future state solutions. Need to learn more about process mapping? Please visit processmappingproducts.com. This website offers a very affordable and comprehensive online introductory process mapping training module with a closed captioning option in the following languages: English, French, Spanish, German, and Chinese Mandarin. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for our next video on process mapping. We will cover a topic to help you understand more about this important technique for process improvement or enterprise transformation.